What's up, guys? So today on the menu is the first workout that we're going to be filming of the new split, and that is leg day. Figured we'd start with a bang, lots of pain faces, and just a good session. I like legs, right? Who doesn't? If you don't, you're in the wrong sport. Anyways, wanted to start off just by showing, because I've been giving some updates on Instagram, but haven't talked about it too much on YouTube at all. So I need to give an update on the diet as a whole, but just wanted to show you all what I'm doing pre-workout right now. So right now we are doing all of like my intra carbs, if you will, just right before I go train. So I've been eating my pre-meal like 2 hours before I train, and then by the time I get here and I'm doing this, it's like I said, been 2 hours. So I like that because as you know, I'm eating a lot more whole food now. So I actually do chicken and rice before I train, so it gives it a second to digest. And so what it looks like is 25 grams of carbs from our intra product. The carbs are from highly branched cyclic dextrin. I'm doing 80 total in this drink, so I make up the rest of them from Carbolin. That's the one that I've found to sit best on my stomach. I do like using both though, so it's a nice blend of the two. And then a scoop of pump. $10 grams of essential amino acids. These are a new sour gummy worm flavor. Really been enjoying these. Of course, they're almost empty. That's how much everyone likes them. Close enough for government work. Grab a new one of those later. And then last but certainly not least, creatine. Give you my 30-second spiel on creatine while I scoop it in here. How much should you take? You should take 5 grams a day. When should you take it? It really doesn't matter. I like taking it before I train just because I remember to do it then. Why do you not need more than that? Because creatine saturates in your body. It gets converted into creatinine. Once your creatinine stores are full, it's like trying to pour water into an already full cup. It's just going to spill, and your body's version of spill is make your kidneys work extra hard and be excreting a bunch of creatinine in your urine. So 5 grams a day will get you saturated. It's one of the most tried and true supplements out there in terms of clinical research behind it showing its effectiveness. So I would strongly recommend you take it. You don't have to take ours. Ours is a great pharmaceutical quality creatine, but take someone's because it's low-hanging fruit in terms of strength and size. All right, so I am going to neck this, and then it's time to do some bodybuilding yoga and train legs. So yes, I am very much so back on my bullshit of vlogging everything. At the end of the day, you gotta have fun with your training, and this is what makes it fun for me. I get to walk in every single day and try and beat myself from last session, and to me that's very fun and fulfilling, or very disappointing and motivating if I don't. So outside of that, it's very hard to really look at trends week to week, or month to month, without having it written down. It's one thing to think you're growing, it's another thing to have on paper that you have regularly added weights and reps to exercise, which only happens by being stronger. And if you're stronger, the muscle's grown. So it's given me a quantifiable way to really track things in the off season, and then it's given me a quantifiable way to reduce or increase volume based on where I'm at in the year. If I'm recovering well, I'm able to actually tell myself, okay, I'm going to add 2 sets of total volume to this body part per week. And it might not seem like a lot, but that can make a big difference in terms of recovery. So it gives you the ability to do that too. And as long as you don't spill water on your paper logbook, you'll have it to refer back to. Why paper? Because I have bad OCD, and it keeps me off my phone a little more than keeping everything on my phone. So I'm going to take a little commercial break and clean this up. And so, yeah, we're going to go over what has become for sure kind of in cement the leg training for the foreseeable future. The volume's still a little low because I'm still working it back up. I'm still literally one working set per on all the compounds, and it's got me sore for like 4 or 5 days after still. So we'll continue to run this, and you'll see the exercises as we do them, but just so y'all know, it's a seated ham curl, leg extension, leg press, unilateral hip press, adductors, and standing calves. So not a ton, and especially, you know, with the reduced volume, it's literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 working sets, you know, for hams and quads, and then some calves and adductors. So not a lot, but, you know, that's not a lot on paper. It's a lot to actually do it the way that we do it. So we'll show you what it looks like. Because it's a new split, I am going to go through and kind of cue each exercise while I'm warming up, kind of give you what I'm thinking while I do it, and, you know, the best way to do it, in my opinion, or what I've arrived at least after doing this for as long as I have. So we're going to get to warming up and then start sending some sets. Excuse me if my leg day anxiety is poking through. Alright guys, so first up is going to be seated hamstring curl. This exercise made up like 80% of my hamstring work for the last 3 years. I think it's the best isolation exercise you can do for them. So just, you know, a couple setup cues. For the pad, you want the pad as far up your leg as possible. When at the bottom of the rep, it's not like rolling up over your calf. You don't want it down on your heel or anything. The farther up your shin you have it, the less torque you're placing on your knee, which is always a great thing. Where do you want the pivot point to hit? You want the pivot point of the exercise to be going like through the axis of where your knee bends. So let me scoot this back just a little bit actually. There we go. And then where do you want like the range of motion adjustment? You want it set in a way to when you're locked, when your feet are on it, you're still able to pick your feet up a little. You don't want to have it to where it's got you jammed into a stretch position where you have no like active range. So that's where you want that, and I think that's everything. So what we're doing and we're actually executing is we're making sure we're even, hips all the way back into the bench, and that's the biggest thing that I see everyone do, you know, regardless of their level, is they don't pay attention to what they're doing from the waistline up, including their hips. So we don't want to let our hips roll out from underneath us when we do this. That's lost output. We want to keep your hips back and in the seat. How do we do this? By bracing, both externally and internally. Internally bracing, we're going to really pay attention to keeping our core active and down. At no point do we want our rib cage flying up. So you see those really hard reps where you see people are like, ah! Yeah, it's because they're using other things other than their hamstrings at that point. So rib cage down by bracing the core strong, and then externally bracing by really driving back into the bench. Something that I like to think about is not being way up here because your line of force is like driving up into your lower back. Think about getting braced as low as possible on it so that line of force is as close to your hips as possible. So without further ado, let's do a warm-up set. So I'm in here, my abs, core are active, hips are back in the proper angle. Then I'm initiating by driving my knee up into this pad. I'm not thinking about curling. I'm thinking about driving my knee straight up into that pad to initiate. Just by doing that, you'll feel tension. The weight's light enough, I'm actually taking it off the stack. And then as you initiate, think about driving your heel straight down. Don't think about pulling it back. And driving your knee up. All the way, full contraction. And as you come up, and this is going to be a feel thing, think about driving that knee up into the pad, even when you're relaxing. The best way, relaxing whenever you're letting the weight out on the eccentric portion. But the best way that I can describe this that you want it to feel is think about trying to make it like a preacher curl for your hamstring. You know, at the end of the day, your leg anatomy is basically like your arm anatomy, just down here, right? Bicep, brachialis, and then bicep femoris, femoral bicep, humeral bicep. Anyways, I'm just going off on a tangent right now. But anyways, that's seated hamstring curls. So we're going to smack a couple warm-ups here, get some blood in the muscle, and then I'll show y'all what the effort should look like, or at least where you should take the sets, especially if you're training, you know, low volume, high intensity. Now my head hurts. Whew. So like I said, leg volume's really low. That top set and back off set is the only direct isolation work for hamstrings today. They will get worked obviously during the 2 compounds we do, but that's the only isolation. And then the only other time we're training them is on the back and hamstring day. And that day right now we have top set, back off, just straight sets on the lying hamstring curl, as well as RDLs. So very low weekly volume for the hamstrings, but they basically stay sore until the day before it's time to train them, which is, you know, always been like my bro science yardstick way of measuring if I'm recovering well or not. So take that for what it is. All right, so hamstrings knocked out on that seated hamstring curl. Moving on to first quad movement of the day. It's gonna be leg extensions. I've always done leg extensions to some varying degree before I'll do any compound work, whether in the past it's just been for a little bit of blood and to warm up, or like it is right now, and it's, you know, to get them warm, but then also to do a true working set here. So, you know, things to keep in mind here. Seat back set in a way that when you are sat back in there, just like the seated hamstring curl, and our hips all the way back in there, not allowing them to roll out as you get tired and fatigued and like try to like plank on the machine. You want to keep hips all the way back, and you do that by getting them back there and then really thinking about pulling yourself into the machine. The handles are there for a reason. They're not just there for show. You know, people sitting here like this or like texting on their phone while they're doing leg extensions, they're missing a lot of output, but they're probably not using enough weight to need the output. So that's, I guess, a moot point. The biggest takeaway for this, and this is not like the typical shit you probably hear like absolutely everywhere, is what I'm paying attention to when I'm doing this is maintaining, you know, in my mind, what is a neutral femur alignment. I'm not allowing it to roll out at the bottom like that. I'm not rolling my toes in or anything at the top. I'm doing everything that I can to start the exercise with my shins hitting the pad at approximately hip width, and I'm paying a lot of attention to keeping that femur and, you know, subsequently my toe straight up and down the whole time. That's going to be the rate limiter on your range of motion, because that's as far as I can go while maintaining that internal rotation that I'm wanting to do. But I can also roll out and lose all the tension from my quad and do that. So a really awesome tool to figure out, you know, really how far you should be going and to get a feel for what I'm talking about maintaining that internal rotation is, you know, get a softball. You can get like a smaller plyo ball. You can use both your fists. I would just tell you to use both your fists Put them between your knees, squeeze, and feel what that feels like with a lighter weight to maintain that squeeze the whole time, even in the bottom of the eccentric. As far as you can go down while maintaining that squeeze is your active range of motion for your leg extension. So I'm gonna do a little warm-up set here and then work my way up to the top set weight and show you all how I like to brace and what's going through my head on those sets. Yeah.
That one was you. Work for me. Finish it. There it is.
Ooh.
Okay.
Helped with the last one, right? You got a number or is this a new weight?
New weight.
So, for all of you that don't know what I meant when I asked that, you got a number, is this a new weight? So, right now, whenever we get a weight for 13 clean ass perfect reps, we add some weight to it. So, just asked him, you got a number, is this a new weight? Meaning, does he know he needs to beat like 10 or 11 reps, or it's first time touching this weight and he's about to establish his number that he tries and beats next session. So, that's what he's about to try and do. Yep. Come on. 11. Let's go. There's 12. Come on. Turn it. Turn it. Yep. Hey.
And when you match numbers with the new weight, that's a good progression.
I am a model. My mom tells me I'm really handsome. All right, so while I go through the hardest part of leg day, that is putting knee sleeves on, I'm gonna move on from that leg extension into the first compound of the day. Jesus Christ. First compound of the day, which is going to be, at this point in time, leg press. I've always structured my leg sessions pretty similar to this, and that is, an isolation apiece for hamstrings and quads, and then moved on to, in the past it's been like 2 bilateral compounds. Right now it's a bilateral and then a unilateral compound. But yeah, so we're gonna work up to a good top set on leg press. Right now this is 1 top set on everything. So I've still been progressing this pretty good week in and week out. So today's another new weight. So continue to ride my noob gains in my logbook for as long as I can, and then grind on them once it slows down. Everyone wants big calves until it's time to put on knee sleeves. Jesus. So setting up in this, what you want to keep in mind is, what we're doing this for. Leg press is a very versatile piece, with leg positioning when it comes to biasing various parts of the leg. I am doing this on my leg day, but I am very much so trying to bias my quads. So what does that mean? I am after maximal knee flexion. So what I don't want is to be way up on the platform with my knee barely making 90 as I have like my knees like up to my ears and it all on my glutes and hamstrings. I want my feet as far down on the platform as possible. I was going to put as much knee flexion in the movement as possible, with the rate limiting factor for most being their ankle mobility. My ankle mobility is pretty poor. It is something that I'm actively working on and addressing, but I've said this before, your sessions are not the time to work on your poor mobility. You want to pick exercises and setups inside exercises that allow you to, perform comfortably within your active range of motion. So for me, as low as I can get on the platform without my heels coming off and my hips rolling out really bad is right here. And then as far as width goes, I do want these about hip width, maybe a little bit wider, and then a natural outward rotation with your feet. Depending on, your hip structure and your femur length and a myriad of other things, the amount that you do that is going to be dependent on you. We are, at the end of the day, after maximal knee flexion though. So you're in here, we're braced, we're pulling in. One of the best cues I've ever gotten is from Joe Bennett on these, and that is when you do these, don't imagine you're pushing the weight away from you when you're in the hole. Imagine you're pushing your hips away from the weight, meaning your hips can't be out of the bench if you're pushing your hips through the bench, right? So you're in it, you're braced, you're pulling in, you get to the hole, and then really think about actively driving your hips down and back into the bench. That's going to make you most stable. It's what's going to give you the best output on this exercise. So I'm going to do a warm-up set and then work my way up to the top sets, show you what that looks like. Oh, another really good cue that I remembered while I was doing that set is obviously in terms of relationship with how low on the platform you are, you want to be as low as you can while still being able to drive from your heel. I don't mean exclusively from your heel though. Very much so think about having, pretty even weight distribution, driving from your whole foot. And as funny as it sounds, when you get your feet set on that platform, really think about spreading your toes and then grabbing with them. I know it sounds funny, but it'll make a big difference in your output. Try it and tell me I'm wrong. Been a while since I leg pressed. Been really liking this. Feel like, develop some slight, like not imbalances, but just like some soft tissue things that had me kind of twisted up. So, just being in something where my hips are forced to be even, really able to just drive and focus on output. I've enjoyed this a lot. Definitely, gonna get back to probably safety bar squatting, honestly, after I'm done with this block with these. I'm in no rush to be done with these. I think they're a great exercise. And, after last year, I ran the same training and the same like AB leg days for like a year and a half. So, the novelty is a cool thing to me. It's fun for me. So at the end of the day, I do this because I love it and it's fun. So really enjoying, the new exercises and, starting from scratch on them. Especially, these, the one leg pendulums I hadn't been doing a lot of for a long time. And then, RDLing on the back and the hinge day. Everything we do in the weight room is a practiced skill. And a lot of them are skills I haven't practiced in a really long time. And that's exciting to me. I actually really enjoy it. So, yeah. Spot me on the first couple. Oh, okay. Yep. Now we lock it in hard, dude. Come on. Do not break what you have. This is perfect, dude. Come on. Perfect reps. Come on. Finish it. Oh, fuck. Ooh. At 15?
No spot.
Yeah.
And we ain't even started yet.
I ran out of fingers after 10. Oh, fuck. That's what makes me feel alive. Almost dying. All right, guys. So next up is going to be unilateral hip press. I'll go over, the setup points in a second, but the main thing that you want to keep in mind with this is the closer that you're able to get the seat to your unracking position, the more of an overload you're going to have in the shortened position, which is when your legs fully straight, when your knees like almost locked out, because it never should be completely locked out, right? But, and the reason being is if you look at this, so this is obviously a pendulum, hence the name of the machine, a pendulum, right? So the closer this weight gets to underneath its pivot point, the lighter it's going to be, because you're no longer having to resist the weight going down, it's just hanging off of its pivot point. Opposite side of that coin, the farther away it gets from that pivot point, the heavier it's going to get. It's a progressively overloading weight the farther it gets away from that pivot point. So by having that seat as close as you can get it to unrack it, meaning you're all the way in the hole, when you extend out of there, it's going to make like your eyes bug out of your head heavy. But the cool thing is it's like a weight that you should be able to handle if you picked your weight for the entire range of motion. You just kind of like smash and crash and burn into the wall at the end when you're actually fatigued. So show y'all what it looks like. One of the big things for me on this exercise, and Jordan actually put me onto this, is unrack it with both feet on it and do a single rep with both feet on it. And it really kind of sets your hips and gives your mind a feel of what path that single leg should be taking. Because a lot of the times, and I'm guilty of this in the past too, starting with a single leg, like first of all, you're never always even. So, you could be like way internally rotated or externally rotated with one and not the other. But you always kind of like fidget around with the leg path in the first couple reps, trying to get a feel for it. Doing that rep with the both legs at the start, it really kind of, at least for me, like brands the leg path that I want into my mind for the rest of the set. So you'll see how we do it. We'll do that single rep with both feet and then drop one leg off and be able to drive and brace. That's why this box and yoga blocks there. I've seen people use like 45-pound bumper plates. I've seen people use a couple 2x4s stacked up. Doesn't really matter as long as you can get a good brace off it, because you don't want that leg just dangling in oblivion, the one you're not training with. You want it locked out and braced so your hips are stable. So I'm not gonna lie, I had to Google what this was. This is a hyperextension limiter, so you don't like go so far and like your knee locks out and then velociraptors. So yeah, to like limit how far it can go out.
That's smart.
Or you can just control your concentric. Novel concept, I know. Oh, that makes it so deceiving.
Look at him now. Perfect brace, almost, dude. Finish. Come on, come on, come on.
Mm-hmm. You help with that one?
Nope.
Fuck.
Kind of fucking hair like that.
What? I got it. I just put that in.
Calm down, NASCAR.
The wrong side. Unless I do it right after talking about it. At least I didn't try and do my double leg rep with the stop still in place. Like I have the last 2 leg sessions. Last 2 leg sessions, I've done, like, pressed it out with my both feet. Like, got the handles on, put my Super Cereals lifting face on, gotten like a nice perfect brace, and then start lowering it, and I had forgotten to put the handles out. I did it like 2 weeks in a row, so everyone laughed at me.
Everyone does that on this machine, though.
Yeah. Fuck, okay. Come on. And not a single cut was to be seen, but I think most of my body's blood is in them. Okay, so that's basically all of the compound non-isolation rip for quads and hamstrings for the day. Not basically, it is. What we got left is adductors and standing calves. I'm at the point in my career where my calves are good enough to not have to do standing and seated every session. If that's not you, or you want them better, do both. But we alternate standing and seated right now because Jordan's got really good calves too. So, now that we got that out of the way, adductors. This is like the number one culprit. Anytime people are asking like how to make their sweep bigger, they need to stop worrying about out here and like right here because they're asking how to make this bigger when they have like a thigh gap all the way to their nutsack in their front shots. You know, your adductors touching like halfway down your legs fills in the space. Nothing makes you look bigger than eliminating negative spaces in your posing. Negative spaces being gaps. So, you know, like that famous Dorian picture where he's hitting his lat spread and literally his lats are hanging so much they run into his forearms and triceps. You know, Tom Platz, his adductors touch down to like his fucking knees. Like, you get the point. So don't ignore your adductor development and don't think you have to train them like a lot of people train them. And I'm talking about all like the TikTok influencers, like 4 sets of 30 people out there. I do 1 top set, 1 back off set for 10 to 12 reps here, same way I do everything else. So, yes, I do grunt it out on the adductor machine. I have no shame in my game. Last thing here, and this is something that I've actually been experimenting with like just the last 2 sessions, is you get bigger and more developed, you have enough meat on the inside of your leg that it's actually going to like internally rotate you if you're using the stirrups. And, I guess that'd be externally rotating. Excuse me, externally rotate you, sorry. But externally rotate your leg a little bit, and it takes a lot of the tension off your adductor and places it into more of like your sartorius and the inner strands of your hamstring and stuff. So what I've made an effort to do is have my feet out of the stirrup, so the contact point is still like the same point on your inner thigh, but I'm making a point to keep my toes straight up and down. So if you're like me, it's going to dramatically reduce the amount of weight that you could do and probably make you really aware that your adductors aren't as flexible as they thought they were, because this is as far as I can go with them in there, and then if I put my feet in there, I can let it kind of like just externally rotate me out. So feet up, toes to the ceiling, keeping myself pulled in, good squeeze, going as far as I can actively, not just completely relaxing and letting it rip me in half. And yeah, so I'll do a warm-up or two, then show you, as promised, me grunting it out on the adductor machine for the top set.
Ooh.
What are you supposed to do if not laugh about it, though? Like, you're gonna be
Right?
a tough guy about your lisp? Like, don't make fun of my lisp.
Peanut butter and Wheaties. Wheaties and
You
spam.
gotta laugh about it.
Wheaties and spam.
You gotta laugh about it. Ugh, come on. Yep. Yep. Shit.
Yep.
Jesus Christ. I have been training my adductors at least once every 5 days for like the last 3 years, and the first time that I did them with my feet off of the stirrup, I could barely sit down on the toilet the next day. So, anecdotally, it isolates it better. All right, so last up for legs is going to be standing calf raises. You know, at the end of the day, I say it's like the same thing for everything. Same thing for everything. We want to isolate the joint that we're training by bracing the rest of the body as good as possible. What joint are we wanting to move on this exercise? Our ankle joint. What joints do we not want to have moving? Our knees and our hips. How do we do that? By keeping our quads and our glutes tight. Depending on the calf raise you have, I know mine. This is my favorite calf raise ever made. Yeah, I carry in a 45-ish degree angled one, but the pad comes low enough that you're actually able to drive your hips into it. At the end of the day, like I said, you just want to have, you know, everything as isolated and as braced as possible. So, show you what it looks like. As far as the actual range of motion you want, in the hole, or, you know, when you're stretching the bottom of the eccentric, you want to go as far down as you can while staying active in the muscle. You don't want to completely go relaxed and let your ankles roll in. You let all of the tension go from in the muscle to on the tendons in your Achilles tendon. So that's what it looks like at the bottom. Up at the top, we want to get as high as we can while driving from the ball of your foot. Really thinking not only getting up high, but also thinking ankle forward. You know, that ankle forward cue is one that made a big difference for me, and it really allows you to shorten your calf as much as possible. So, show you what the warm-up set looks like, show you what the semi-sun sets look like, and I need to get out of here. I guess another one would be, how wide do you want your feet? About shoulder width. You want all your joints being your ankle, your knee, and your hip all stacked over each other and in a line. I think, honestly, the thing holding most people back from growing their calves is, I'm trying to think of a nice way to say this, their low tolerance or having a low pain threshold. Training calves is fucking painful. It's kind of one of those things, like the set starts when it feels like you have battery acid pumping through them. There's a really big difference between doing something until it burns and hurts and doing something until the muscle is physically incapable of fully contracting anymore. The second of the two is what we're after. And it happens long after it starts burning and hurting. All right, guys. So that is a wrap on the leg session of the new split. This is the one workout in the new split that doesn't have like an A-B variation. It's once a week. It's the same shit once a week. With the only exception going to be being that I'm working volume back into it still. There will be a top set and then a back off set added into both that leg press and the unilateral hip press eventually. So yeah, all in all, like I said, like during the session, and now I'm saying it again, I really enjoy the structure of this session. You know, everything's aimed at, you know, keeping everything balanced and aligned, so keeping my lower half happy. My lower half is a strong point, so I'm not exactly trying to reinvent the wheel when it comes to my training for it. I'm doing what I know works for me and has been my bread and butter at this point, which is, you know, progressively overloading movements that fit my body well. Imagine that. But anyways, like I said, this is the first workout that we filmed of the new split. We're going to knock the other 4 out. We're going to knock the other 4 out as soon as possible, so keep an eye out for those. As always, if you like this video or want to know whenever we're putting the next one out, be sure to like and subscribe it. Really appreciate the support. Have a lot of fun doing these for y'all. See y'all next time.